I'm trying to compete with him, bro.
With Jimmy.
Uh-huh.
So you're setting pace on camera right now.
Yeah, but I mentioned the Sidemen boys. I'm gonna get more subscribers than Sidemen. And I'm also gonna get more views.
6-7! KSI has faced almost every kind of controversy the internet can throw at someone. He's survived public feuds, boxing losses, failed projects.
No, what the fuck was that?
Online backlash and years of non-stop scrutiny. Every time people thought he was finished, he found a way to come back even bigger. That's what makes what's happening right now so unusual. Because this time, the conversation isn't about a rival creator, a boxing match, or a business venture gone wrong. It's about KSI himself. More specifically, it's about a decision that was supposed to mark the beginning of a new chapter in his career. Instead, it triggered one of the most divisive reactions he's seen in years. Fans who had supported him for over a decade suddenly found themselves questioning him. Comment sections turned into arguments, online discussions exploded. And while KSI appeared convinced he was moving forward, many viewers felt he was leaving something important behind. The strange part is that none of this happened because he was canceled. It happened because of what many people saw as a simple announcement. So how did a move that was supposed to represent growth end up creating so much backlash? To understand that, we have to go back to the beginning. Long before the controversy, KSI wasn't just another YouTuber.
What's in the box? Oh, God. No! I can't do it!
He was one of the faces of the platform. For years, he represented what internet success looked like. Millions of subscribers, sold-out events, charting music, boxing headlines, business ventures, and an influence that stretched far beyond YouTube. But one of the biggest reasons people connected with KSI wasn't his individual success. It was the Sidemen. The group became something bigger than a collection of creators. For fans, it felt like watching a group of friends grow up together on the internet. The chemistry felt genuine, the jokes felt natural, and over time, viewers became emotionally invested in the group dynamic itself. That's an important detail because it would later become the center of the entire controversy. At first, everything seemed to be moving in the right direction. The Sidemen became one of the most successful creator groups in internet history. Their videos attracted millions of viewers, their brand expanded, their influence continued growing, and KSI remained one of the most recognizable members. From the outside, it looked like everyone was winning. But success has a strange way of creating new challenges. The bigger someone becomes, the harder it becomes to separate their personal identity from the brand they're associated with. And whether people realized it or not, KSI was beginning to face that exact problem. Over the years, he evolved far beyond YouTube. He entered music, he entered boxing, he built businesses, he became involved in projects that had little to do with the Sidemen. His career was expanding in multiple directions at once, and eventually it appeared that KSI wanted people to see him as more than just a member of a YouTube group. That desire would become increasingly obvious when he began discussing new opportunities and new challenges. On paper, there was nothing controversial about that. Most people understand wanting to grow. Most people understand wanting to try something different. But growth and perception are two very different things. Because while KSI may have seen his next move as evolution, many fans interpreted it very differently. And that difference in perception would spark the backlash. When KSI announced that he was stepping away and pursuing a different direction, he likely expected curiosity, maybe excitement, maybe support. After all, this was someone who had reinvented himself multiple times throughout his career. Why would this be any different? But almost immediately, the conversation started moving in an unexpected direction. People weren't focusing on the future. They were focusing on how the message was delivered. Fans began dissecting interviews, statements, and comments. Certain comparisons attracted attention. The criticism wasn't coming from people who already disliked KSI. Some of it was coming from his own audience. That made the situation far more dangerous, because criticism from strangers can usually be ignored. Criticism from loyal supporters is much harder to dismiss. As discussions spread across social media, more people began asking the same question. Why did this announcement feel so different? Some viewers felt KSI was distancing himself from the very group that helped build his legacy. Others believed people were overreacting. The audience quickly split into competing camps, and the more people argued, the bigger the story became. But then something else happened, something that made the entire situation even more interesting. The Sidemen largely stayed quiet. There were no massive public attacks, no endless response videos, no dramatic war of words. Instead, there was silence, and that silence created a vacuum that fans immediately started filling with theories. People began analyzing every interaction, every missing appearance. As the backlash continued, KSI found himself in an uncomfortable position. The more he addressed the situation, the more attention it received. The more attention it received, the more people analyzed his words. And the more people analyzed his words, the more criticism appeared. It became a cycle, one that seemed impossible to escape. What started as a single announcement had transformed into a much larger public image problem. Not because KSI's career was collapsing, not because his audience disappeared, but because the discussion surrounding him had changed. For years, many people viewed KSI as ambitious, confident, and relentless. Now some viewers were beginning to describe him differently. Words like ego, arrogance, and defensiveness started appearing more frequently in discussions. Again, whether those labels were deserved is subjective, but public perception has a powerful influence. And once enough people start viewing someone through a different lens, every action begins getting interpreted differently. That's exactly what happened. Every statement became evidence. Every appearance became part of the narrative. Every response generated another round of debate. And before long, the original purpose of the announcement was almost forgotten. Instead of talking about what KSI was building next, people were talking about whether he had handled the situation correctly. That's the real irony of the entire story. The goal seemed to be creating a new chapter. Instead, the conversation became trapped in the previous one. As KSI stated in one of his interviews, he was going to surpass the Sidemen in views, subscribers, and overall internet success. This felt strange to many fans, since KSI had spent years building the Sidemen alongside the group, and after stepping away, it seemed less like a fresh start and more like the beginning of a competition.
And as usual, the internet did not let the moment pass without scrutiny. Many viewers and fans began questioning whether KSI's claim was realistic, and the discussion quickly spread across social media. Even Mr. Beast became part of the conversation. But the debate did not end there, because the Sidemen eventually responded to the situation, saying that they respected KSI's opinion.
Even today, opinions remain divided. Some fans believe KSI did absolutely nothing wrong. Others feel he underestimated how attached people were to the Sidemen. And that may be the most important lesson hidden inside this entire controversy. For more than a decade, KSI and the Sidemen became deeply connected in the minds of viewers. To many fans, they weren't separate brands. They were part of the same story. The moment that connection appeared threatened, emotions took over. That's why the reaction became so intense. Not because of one announcement, not because of one comment, but because millions of people felt invested in something they had spent years watching. Whether KSI's decision ultimately proves to be the right one remains to be seen. His career is still enormous, his influence remains significant, and history has shown that betting against KSI is usually a mistake. But this situation revealed something many people had forgotten. Success doesn't always create freedom. Sometimes it creates expectations. And when you've spent more than a decade building something alongside others, walking away can become far more complicated than anyone expects. KSI thought this would be the beginning of a new chapter. Instead, it became one of the most debated moments of his career.